So I thought I'd pose a question today to the internets. Where are these games? Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Elden Ring.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
I thought I'd start off with Beyond Good and Evil 2 because it's the one I'm actually most excited about and the one I have the most fear for. There's a few reasons for this, but let's get into what we kind of know about Beyond Good and Evil 2. It is a sequel and made by Ubisoft. It is supposed to be a PlayStation 4 title. However, that has changed as you've seen Ubisoft's new rollout of games. Their new Direct showed everything but Beyond Good and Evil 2. Instead deciding to focus on basically a bunch of mobile games and continuations of their franchise, such as Far Cry 6, which does look, really good, but at the heart of it is still Far Cry, and therefore I don't necessarily find it too appealing. That's just me personally. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which, again, I'm not going to say that's going to be a great title, because it probably isn't. It doesn't really look too good. If anything, Assassin's Creed Valhalla should just be called something else and not Assassin's Creed. They're probably afraid to take away the Assassin's Creed from it and release a standalone game on their own 2 feet, something new and innovative. And I think that's going to be the root of the problem here, or the root of a lot of problems for a lot of what I'm going to talk about. Assassin's Creed Valhalla just doesn't look all that interesting or fun, and it kind of looks like every other Assassin's Creed. I really don't know what else to say about that. And then, of course, Watch Dogs Legion, which again, if you're looking for a Grand Theft Auto competitor, you found it in Watch Dogs Legion. Conceptually, cool. Is that story going to be there? Has that story ever been there for Watch Dogs? But from the little bits I did play and from what I've heard, the story was always pretty much secondary in a Watch Dogs game. Though I do think that first one had a great concept. I don't know how well that was extended into the second one, unfortunately. And now this third one, I really don't know if that concept of just taking back London is really going to hold me, someone who feels as if AAA titles need that story to, be good, for them to be good games. Just because they're AAA titles and look good, that does not make it a good game. And because Watch Dogs Legion also doesn't look all that good. I don't know what it is about these Ubisoft titles that don't look all that good. The only one that looks like it belongs in this late generation of PlayStation 4 titles, and even moving forward to a PlayStation 5, the new generation, it's only Far Cry 6, and that was just a cinematic trailer, and we know those can be confusing in terms of what they show and what we get. So this brings me to what Beyond Good and Evil has been doing before its release, and they're called the Space Monkey live streams. Now, there aren't many of them, so it goes to show that they not necessarily weren't keeping up on it. The Monkey Report faded out. We haven't really heard anything. So my theory, and I think is pretty good, is that instead of focusing on a new IP, they're going to focus on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, guaranteed sales, guaranteed, and Watch Dogs Legion, which was supposed to be their big wow game for new sales. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, to me, Assassin's Creed is no longer a franchise that can bring in more types of new fans. It's actually gotten to a point where Assassin's Creed is just almost a game people buy it like as a guilt, because it's like, we love Assassin's Creed. And where Watch Dogs Legion was the game to bring in new fans, Beyond Good and Evil was a game that is probably the bigger risk here, given of how old the first one actually is. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not talking much about Beyond Good and Evil. Well, it's because the sad truth is the game's going to be pushed back indefinitely to the PlayStation 5, because they're deciding to work on other more, what I would call safe projects. That doesn't mean we don't know anything about Beyond Good and Evil, though. Gameplay did release, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago. And again, the developers were actually there talking to us, and I loved this idea, and I wish they kept up with it way more. But from what the gameplay showed, some co-op. Co-op's great. I don't give a shit about co-op. No one's sitting next to me playing co-op. I got no friends who are gonna, play co-op with me on Beyond Good and Evil. So personally, I could care less. But if you do, I'm happy that, you have friends who you can play video games with and play Beyond Good and Evil with. But for me, not an interest. The meta-human idea where they're splicing DNA and you're creating types of shark people, pig people, monkey people, I love it. Jade's coming back. We saw her possibly as the villain. I love that. I really do think Beyond Good and Evil 2 is in development hell. I have big fears concerning games made for PlayStation 4 that are getting pushed to PlayStation 5. I understand that they made a statement that said PlayStation 4 games will be able to be played on PS5, but that's not what I want. I want you to make games for the PlayStation 5, and if it happens to play on the PS4, cool. If not, I don't care. Do you think Apple cares about iPhone 10 users when the iPhone 12 comes out? No, they don't. And I get that there is a transitionary period, but that transitionary period shouldn't be filled with mediocrity. I want Beyond Good and Evil 2 to be as great as I'm hoping it is, and let that be on whatever system it needs to be on, and come out as clean and professional as it, should. Don't want to see it just go down this path and, high hopes, high expectations, and we're never able to meet them because we're never able to get the game out the way they truly want to get the game out, because we're focusing on our more safe, more profitable franchises just for the sake of making money, and we're not even working on those franchises to make them either better, graphically improve them, do something for the fans, or even try to get new players in. Because honestly, anyone who wants to go play in Valhalla, go play God of War, the remake or remaster, whatever, the newest God of War. That looks better than that Assassin's Creed. So, and it's just gonna be hard to convince me otherwise. Watch Dogs Legion, you want to play Watch Dogs Legions, go play Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, and that story I'm sure you're going to think is really, really good, especially with 3 separate characters and they all tie in. Is Watch Dogs gonna do something like that comparative story-wise? I doubt it. Beyond Good and Evil, I really want the best for you, and I want Ubisoft to treat you right. And when you were announced those 3 years ago, I really thought I would have had you by now.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.